we're talking to Nicole Ma from Hoko. Hoko in its original form was a Hong Kong style milk tea, but if you were walking around East London last year, around Brick Lane, towards the end of summer, you would have seen a queue wrapping around that street for their pop-up cafe. Their pop-up cafe was called Hoko, and it was styled on a Hong Kong Cha Chaan Teng, which is similar to a British cafe or an American diner. The level of detail that they put into like their food, their interior design, their graphic design, just it blew my mind, and everyone felt it, and it popped off, and it was a fantastic spot to go to. It was a really nice conversation to sit down with her and talk about, you know, all the responsibility, the journey that they went on, the people they relied on, the learning they had to do, but ultimately the massive payoff they got from it, and the reception they got was so positive. So yeah, this is just a really nice conversation to have in this cafe just around the corner from the old Hoko spot, which is now finished. It's pop-up. Really hope you enjoy it.
So I guess coming back to what we were saying earlier about like that first question around starting Hoko, making milk tea, kind of what was that prompt? What made you want to do that and kind of start it off?
So we started during the COVID, when everybody is questioning their true meaning and looking beyond your day job and looking beyond your daily life. And then it was during the immigration wave of a lot of Hong Kong people coming to the UK.
The visa that sparked a huge migration.
And also having lived in the UK for 2 years from then, I start to really miss home and start to understand the city a bit more and having tried to find places where to find the most authentic Hong Kong home food. And I did struggle a little bit. There are a lot of Chinese restaurants in Chinatown and dotted around in London. But then I think it's the atmosphere and the authentic recipe that I was missing. Of course, you can find like items of Hong Kong dishes in a Chinese restaurant menu occasionally. But then I found there are a lot of true, purely Hong Kong kind of restaurant in the UK that I can find, just enjoy a pineapple bun or a Hong Kong milk tea.
Spam and noodles. And the heavy hitters.
So, and then Ryan, my partner, and I just started to think about doing something regarding to Hong Kong. And Ryan used to live in the UK for over 10 years. And then we met in London. So I think Hong Kong, also in a way, Hong Kong, the city, the culture is a way of connecting me and him.
Nice.
And
I like that.
I think naturally, it just really naturally becomes a medium that we want to build something among the two of us.
Like a shared language.
I like
shared
that. Language, share a beverage and food, culture. So we just kept brainstorming and then did some research about authentic Hong Kong signature drinks or food. And of course, Hong Kong milk tea comes first. And I think the more I read about the drink, even though there are so many different kind of milk tea in the world, but then Hong Kong milk tea is unique as it is, with the background of developing this beverage from the British colonial period. And it just tells the story of Hong Kong perfectly. Like it's just a purely drink, but then it tells so much story when you look into it. Like when you start to question the ingredient, why is it evaporated milk? Why is it Sri Lankan tea? Why is it so strong? And then it just leads you to listen to the story and explore the origin of the lives of the people at that time. And then we just felt really fascinated. And I think one of the missions we started with Hoko is also about telling story and just speaking out about who we are.
Nice.
You know, I don't think there are as many Hong Kongers back like 2-3 years ago. And of course, it's getting more and more. But then we just really want to share. Like, we want to share about Hong Kong.
And like a piece of yourself and like what you guys are passionate about. It's just self-expression, right? Like it's like a project that you care about. And you find that others like are also caring about it. It's a nice way to start.
And I think we as human beings are always trying to express through different medium, through art. I used to express myself through flowers, but then at the time I just feel, okay, milk tea that is.
That is quite I love the fact that you love flowers, and you were telling me about your projects and they sound amazing. And then it's kind of a nice thing that you started thinking about how to communicate in a different medium, and like you started exploring it, but you've just expanded what you do. You haven't just thrown yourself completely into just one product. You've branched out, and that's amazing.
And also it was kind of scary as well, like transitioning from one medium to another medium. But then I think Ryan and I was kind of brainstorming and discussing what can tell the story of Hong Kong like easily, because we tried doing other different projects to communicate the story of Hong Kong, and then to not support, because we're not a community center, but we were just brainstorming what kind of things we can do to share about the problem and what's happening with Hong Kong people right now. And we tried creating forums and online.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
There was a side project and just something we did like in a small scale, like trying to connect the British people and Hong Kong people in a forum, this sort of thing.
Oh nice, I didn't know
and
that.
then we realized we can do apps or this sort of things, or like a channel to share contents, and then some sort of informative website or app to connect the two cultures. But then we realized it takes a lot of resources to like create videos or contents, and then to get British people or local people who live in the UK to care about Hong Kong. So we thought art and food is always the medium to get people interest. And food always has the magic to bring people together and create curiosity and interest.
Definitely.
So that's why we sort of look into the direction of doing food and drink. And then I was talking about the beverage story during the British colonial period around 1940s, 50s, when people start to pick up the habits and try to imitate each other's afternoon tea behavior. You know, milk and tea.
Like dairy, really.
Was considered really a luxury product. But then we still need to eat. We need to rest. When the industrial day runs long, you need a little break. And then Hong Kong people adapt and use their whatever they can find to create that sort of little luxury time of having a tea and a pastry. And just accidentally following their tongue, their feelings, they find a recipe.
I'm stuck with it, and we're like, this is it.
What people in general enjoy, which is condensed milk and with a mix of Sri Lankan tea. That's why it's so strong and it's full of flavors. And I'm sure with different decades of development and learnings, like Hong Kong people from different restaurants, like keep compete with each other to make the best cup of tea.
Like what's the silkiest, smoothest recipe we can get that everyone's gonna love?
Rich.
Yeah, exactly. Rich.
And I don't know why, like, this is like a side topic. Why I always wonder why, like, the flavors of drinks and food seems to be like much more intense and flavorful in Asia. I love really heavy stuff, like really spicy, heavy taste, huge seasoning. I don't know, but
I'm just gonna say that came through in the Hoko pop-up cafe. The flavors were just insane, by the way. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Maybe too salty. I don't know.
No, I loved it, man. I'm all about it. I was like, everything was Moorish. Everything was like really indulgent and just like but the portions were like appropriate. I think you got that.
So when we were researching, just the milk tea story is the most fascinating, and we think it's easier to start, even though it's we keep learning when we were establishing a product. Like we never have every professional experience on like manufacturing goods. But then we learned along the way. But milk tea, we thought it would be an easy start, but then milk is a perishable product. So I wouldn't. Now I look back, I wouldn't say it's the easiest. But then we started it.
And once you find your medium, then you know, like you care about it, and you're like, I'm going to figure it out. It's not a question of like yes or no. It's a question of when do I nail it? Oh, that's fire.
So then we thought, okay, milk tea, signature enough, and then Hong Kong people love it. And then, I mean, Taiwanese bubble tea has been established in the UK already. And people start to love Asian kind of milk tea, and I think it's a good time to start. And then that's why we started producing in small batches. And I think in this decade, people love independent makers.
Yes.
And I think the timing is really good to start something like this. So like small brand, doing ourselves, and then testing the market a little bit. And drink is easy, and people love drinking stuff. I think London people always grab a drink wherever they go.
I think so, and I think it's like there's something about drinks they're approachable. You know, they're not like a massive kind of leap. Yeah, that's it. Commitment. They're not a massive commitment. You can trial it, and then you fall in love with it because it's delicious, and then that's fine. Yeah.
So we started it a year until we start to like get into like food market, these sort of things.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So at the beginning we were just doing small batches, supplying to like Asian groceries and and we managed to get into some Western groceries as well.
Nice.
Not big ones, then good enough to get us started.
Yeah. I mean that's impressive enough as it is because, like you said, you were coming at this from a new like you didn't have the background, but you managed to produce, get a recipe, manufacture, and sell, which is super hard. So congratulations, that's amazing. Yeah.
So we remember. Because there are not a lot of huge Asian supermarkets, so it's mainly groceries. So yeah, we were just trying really hard to get as many stockists as possible, like driving up to Manchester, to Sheffield to get as many stockists as possible.
And there's all these pockets of what's it called, like Asian communities all up around the north. So yeah, I can see why.
And we really tried. Anyways, like we would just do a random Instagram post, like, okay, we're doing pop-up, but not an official pop-up, but just like going Manchester with a little ice bucket and then waiting for people to pick up their order.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
So really small efforts, but then leading up to like future plans.
No, but I think that's good because there's a lot of those early days unspoken kind of attitude you have to have where you have to just pack a cooler full of stuff and just go somewhere and hope that it does well, and that's kind of part of it, I guess. Yeah, you can't predict it.
Back, like, we didn't know the direction, but then we just tried. Yeah, and then I think it was really rewarding along the way when their non-Asian customer assessed it and loved it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
nice.
And it opens up a little door talking about from the milk tea and then to story of Hong Kong and the connection between the two cultures. Yeah, I think it just worked perfectly to start as a drink and then lead to a conversation that we really want to aim at.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you say that was when someone had sampled the drink and you were starting to tell them like the background, the story? Would you say that they were really receptive to it? Was that something that flowed quite naturally from one to the other, I guess?
Yeah, it's quite natural. And they didn't imagine why it was invented. And then I think the story get them to savor the taste a bit more.
Nice.
And understand why it is so strong, why is it so different to the lighter kind of British tea or bubble tea, which is on the lighter side.
Yeah.
Far
more milky. Whereas milk tea is like, it's like a shot. It's like an intense. What's the equivalent? It's like an espresso, but it's milk tea.
I also think there is some relevance in sense of the depth of flavor and intensity to Vietnamese coffee. I really love Vietnamese coffee. It's very intense as well.
I can't say that I've sampled enough of it, but okay, I'm gonna have to go out and buy some.
It's quite like strong.
Oh really? Okay, yeah.
And thick.
Nice. That's what you want. Rich, thick, silky smooth.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah.
And then I guess moving from where you were with Hoko as a product and then moving into it as a pop-up, what drove the decision to say, okay, you know what, we're going to do a pop-up now and we're going to get into it?
Yeah, so we started doing food markets from spring 2022. So it was great. It was the kind of first customer facing, really in front of serving, instant serving, and we had a taste of it. And it was really nice that you can talk to the customer directly and offer, because I think we were feeling a bit limiting with just like being passive behind the drink pouch.
Yeah,
Like you can't really, and having only two, like the milk tea and the yin yang.
Oh yeah.
Even though people like it, but then it's limiting. It's quite passive sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, fair enough.
And we just feel we need to do more. We're starting to get it, but then we want more gateways to tell the stories, and
which is a benefit of being
Yeah.
a small producer. You know, you can have those conversations face to face
Yeah.
and be that face of the brand and not rely on like a salesperson to pitch something that they don't really understand. So
Yeah.
I can see that.
yeah, and at the market, and back then the weather was so nice, and
Yeah.
we really enjoyed our market days. So we were offering French toast of different flavors.
Oh, nice.
And then the deep fried sweet tentacles and the milk tea and different kind of tropical Hong Kong drinks,
Yeah.
like the lychee drink, the pineapple drink in the market.
Oh, cool.
So
Cool.
yeah, and we start to learn along the way, like how to equip ourselves and also expand our product range. So we ourselves into more product development, and then the market days were really great from spring to summer, and then towards the end of spring we started to think what the next step should be.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously markets are great, but then winter was approaching, and we just feel okay, maybe it's time to consider more indoor trade.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, and also in market, even though there are a lot you can do, like how your store appear and how your packaging looks like, and talking to customer. But then, I think we might just be quite aggressive and greedy, wanting always to do more.
I'd say that's ambitious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say ambitious, not aggressive.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
But you are always limited with a market stall. I love them. I love doing them. But you're always limited to the table. How does the table look? And then am I in the right position next to like where people are passing by? Like this is, you're kind of, people are just like by chance going past you. You can't, it's harder to draw them in, I find, than having like a physical space.
Yeah. And also I think with the Hong Kong experience, I just love those tableware. Being in market it just isn't practical to bring all the plates and wash them back in the unit, and then so there's only so much we can do in the market. And as I mentioned, winter approaching, so we were planning to do pop-up.
Oh, cool.
And then we just look at venues, and then it happened that in Brick Lane we realized this is okay. Brick Lane is a mix of culture on its own.
Yeah.
It's always so diverse and it's welcoming.
Definitely. It's got like a massive history of like immigration, of like people being entrepreneurial. Like it from a emotional standpoint, it kind of suited everything you guys are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also being in London for 4 years, there are only a few places that I really know about. And Brick Lane, of course, is one of the places you would know, everyone would know. Yeah. And the location-wise is just perfect. And then, with the identity and the characteristic of the street, it just matched perfectly.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It's
and
fantastic.
also the restaurant, the pop-up unit size is just perfect for us to be comfortable to take on.
That's fair, because you had to probably consider like how many covers can we do, how big is our kitchen, all the logistical side of stuff.
Yeah.
Which comes back to, Cha Chaan Tengs in general. They had to be very resourceful with their space as well, and think about cleverly how to build a space.
Yeah. And also with pop-up is quite tricky. You don't want to invest too much in getting equipment that you might not be using for the next stage. So and I just have, after evaluating the assets and also the equipment, location, we just think, okay, it's worth a trial. Even though it's quite scary, like Ryan and I did argue like whether we should go ahead, like not having much restaurant operating experience. So we decided to do that perhaps in July, and then we had to open in September.
Wow,
So
that's
in
a really
2 months.
Yeah.
Even though it's a pop-up, but literally you're actually sort of half opening a restaurant, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say you're I'd say you're at least 80% your way there opening a restaurant.
Yeah, so it felt really scary, but then I always actually my previous boss always told me scary is good. Just go in there, don't look. It's like bungee jump, just jump, and then you'll figure a way.
I like that. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of into that. But your boss sounds like a bit of a daredevil. But yeah, okay, cool.
So yeah, we were scared, but then it just the frontage of the pop-up location looks really good, and then also the atmosphere. I can feel there's a potential adding twists and decoration to turn it into a real Cha Chaan Teng kind of atmosphere. And I think that was really crucial to the experience.
Yeah, 100%. I think you nailed it. Me and Emily, we'd gone there a few times to try get in, and the queue was so big that we were just like, okay, we'll come back. And I think finally when we got there, we were the first people in queue. But when we walked in, I was like, this is beautiful. Everything is so considered. Relating back to what you wanted to do, which is a Cha Chaan Teng, it kind of pulls from the imagery of it, but you also had your own twists and turns. It definitely did. It felt as if like, this is what this would be here in London. This is like, it carries it. Can you talk me through a little bit of the thought process of setting that up? What were some of those decisions you made to get to that point? Because it was stunning. It was just amazing. I just want to hear just about that.
Maybe I start with the interior, the decoration. So I think that one was more of my what I'm passionate about more than Ryan, because Ryan is more on the practical side.
Cool.
Yeah, more like operational, the food.
Good balance there.
Yeah. I think like you and Emily, like you have different abilities and passion on things.
I think we're the same kind of thing where we both lean on each other when we need to for our skills, and that's just it helps.
So with the interiors, I have been doing research on how a typical Cha Chaan Teng, or things that the form before Cha Chaan Teng is the ice drinking room that we say, only offering dessert and drinks.
Oh no, I don't know too much about it. Tell me about it. I love it.
So before Cha Chaan Teng, actually those type of eatery is called beng sat, which translates to ice room. Because back then, Hong Kong has always been really hot, and people really needed a drink, especially those British colonial officers. And expat people, they really want a place to have their afternoon tea and these sort of things, and they imported ice back then. I mean, the ice production in Asia was limited, so ice were imported elsewhere, and then there is a demand for icy drinks, and then places where you can stay cool and enjoy a little treat. And then those eateries got established with high ceilings, so it's more airy, the ventilation is better, and with those hanging fans, offering icy drinks and just dessert and pastries, because they were not licensed to do cooked food at that point.
So everything was cold.
Yeah.
Oh, that's quite
so that's
clever.
why they're called ice drinking room.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
That's when people drink ice wrapped bean milk. Yeah, those kind of traditional drinks. Yeah. So later on, I think after they start to do more cooked food to compete with restaurants.
Okay.
And then they gradually transform from beng sat to Cha Chaan Teng nowadays.
Oh, okay. And this is the current form that we know it as. Okay.
That's why they start doing like really diverse menus, and even nowadays they would incorporate dishes from Japan or like Thailand, China, really diverse menus. But I think what we really want to do is at Hoko was the really original dishes.
Nice.
Like before it get really internationalized. We were doing research about how those Cha Chaan Teng and beng sat should look like, and we realized there are some things in common that really speaks about the general aesthetics of those Cha Chaan Teng, which is the formica table, and with the glass panel on top, usually quite green tinted.
I feel like pale green and like light pinks are the color tone.
So even though it's quite an investment to get them for just a 2 months pop-up.
Yes.
I'm glad Ryan allowed me to do that because he was always the one. Are you sure you want to invest in this while we're doing 2 months?
I mean, fair enough. I mean, it looked amazing. So like, yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with like, I know that this is an expense, but it'll be so nice.
It will worth it. People will love it. Yeah, we have had so many this kind of conversation.
Really? Okay.
Prior to opening. So yeah, it was such a Cha Chaan Teng thing, like having the dark glass panel on top of the table, and then you just put your menu underneath. Very easy. And then and having those plastic cups, the brown tinted one. All
with
these
the texture on it.
Yeah.
And then
how do you put it in English?
I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's like when it's blown, it's like the bubbles, right? Like you let the bubbles in the plastic kind of form, and then it creates that. I think I don't actually know.
Yeah, and actually in Hong Kong, people will wash their cutleries inside those cups, and they are not really meant for drinking.
Yeah.
but anyways, we have had them for drinking glasses, and then all those green, orange plates. So we did some sort of Instagram market research and asked people what reminds you of Cha Chaan Teng most, and some people answer it's always the green and orange color. And I think a lot of Asian countries, like the Malay or the Thai restaurant, they also use this kind of plastic plates. But I think orange and the neon green is particularly to Hong Kong in a way.
I guess there's that Cantonese kind of aesthetic.
So I picked that one, and then also we must have chopsticks. And
of course.
I realized Cha Chaan Teng is very inspired by the American diner kind of setting, like having those like cutlery holder on the table, like having menu underneath. So we made sure we want to pay as much true contribution and have that in elements of those tableware setting.
I like that because it felt, when you sat down, everything felt very relaxed, but you can't deny that everything had like a very specific decision behind it. Like I was like, okay, I can already know that I'm sitting in like a curated space, but it's quite casual, quite relaxed as well. And even your seating plans where people were sharing on long tables, like it wasn't a very, I wouldn't say like a very poised kind of thing. You had that nice balance of like curated but flat sharing kind of seating and relaxed atmosphere.
And shared seats is very Hong Kong. You always crowd into a fast-paced restaurant and you just grab whatever seat you can find. And then just have your meal quickly and then go
get
for
out.
work.
Get in, get out.
And also, and I think like squeezing in a small space and sitting on low chairs is just in general very Asian.
It's the squat. How strong are your thighs?
While we're eating. So everything is just so perfect. And then I think the green glass panel really add a nice pop of color in this menu.
It's true.
The orange. So I make sure, like when I work with the graphic designer Phoebe, also.
Phoebe's amazing, by the way. Fantastic person to work with.
So we really make sure we stick to the color palette of orange, pop of orange in the space. Anyway, we want to make sure it look refreshing and not just an old style kind of Chinese restaurant randomly on Brooklyn.
That's
so we figure the graphic design and the photography is crucial. Having the branding stand out while keeping the authentic Asian elements. So Phoebe, of course, contribute a lot to the project. We know each other from not kindergarten, secondary school. So we know each other for over 10 years. And I just really trust her, and her style is just perfect. So she also started helping us designing the logo from the milk tea pouch. So of course it makes sense for her to extend the design service also to the pop-up location to have her element, her style. So we worked very closely during the process designing the packaging, and we share so much similarity in how we perceive aesthetics in a Hong Kong setting. Because we were born there, we spent spent most of our lives there, both of us.
Yeah.
So we know how those little details. We just don't need to communicate. We get it right away.
I love that. There's like that shorthand between like you don't need to debate every detail because you're both already leaning to something because you already you get each other's references.
Yeah.
Also, to have a friend who you're both very talented and you're both approaching a project, like it's so nice to have. Yeah.
So yeah, having someone you just trust and know she understands what a truly nice Hong Kong. Because like Phoebe also loves Hong Kong. Yeah. She incorporates like she always posts photos of Hong Kong Cha Chaan Teng. I know she sees beauty in the traditional cafes, and always when she take photo of the details of a cafe, we know why it's so beautiful. We understand the aesthetics.
The appreciation is there, and you're like,
And so we had a really nice bun packaging. We love it. I don't know whether you remember how the bun pouches look like. It has a tile pattern.
Oh yeah, I do remember. Yeah, but you had this on top of like the packaging itself was really good for keeping in heat. Like it was really slick.
Really?
Yeah. It was. Yeah, I thought it was really nice. Like it was quite a clever. Quite a clever piece of packaging. Yeah.
So this tile pattern is quite common in Hong Kong kind of cafe. Phoebe just cleverly incorporate those traditional elements. Maybe they would just sit very simply in a cafe, but then if you pick the element and then combine it with modern, the pouch package is more metallic. Yeah. If you incorporate with a different material or in a different form, it just reminds people of the aesthetic. I think we did nail this in a way.
Oh, definitely. I think so. There was so many nice touches with like how you plated stuff. God, the French toast. Like, I know it didn't have that much packaging, but how you plated it just looked like it was spilling over. It was so good. Yeah.
I love food as well.
Yeah.
I'm such a big foodie, so I think I get that trick.
Yeah.
So it was just, I think the success was mostly the branding and the experience dining in a Hong Kong Cha Chaan Teng.
Nice.
So that was the part that I was more in charge with. And then the menu itself, we wanted to keep it simple because it's a pop-up. We don't want to overcomplicate, and also having a team of new members. We want to make sure people know how to do it and not to compromise on the food quality, because even though you have a good branding, after all, the food matters a lot.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like that. If the food's no good, then people are gonna. That's what people comment on, right?
Yeah. So we didn't challenge ourselves in making the most complicated menu. And after all, Cha Chaan Teng is a place where you can find simple and comfort food kind of place where you don't overcomplicate things. It's just good and it's honest food, and that's it.
Yes.
So we just make sure the presentation is more up to the modern standard, because in Cha Chaan Teng, like, it's just full of plate of rice.
It's like
saucy.
Get it out.
Practical.
Yeah, exactly.
Really practical. No plating, whatever.
No one's there with a cloth wiping the edges and making sure. They're just like, you ordered, done, get out.
With a finger dipping in the soup.
Yeah, exactly.
Very classic.
But you can still appreciate it for what is it. I mean, it freaks some people out, but you're like, is food still good, right? Like, still having a good time.
So funny. When I go back to Hong Kong, if they don't dip their finger in, I will like, please dip your finger in.
This isn't right. No, send it back. I'm sending the food back.
So we just make sure it's tidy, looks good on Instagram as well.
That's cool.
And the way how I want my food to arrive to be. So the menu is quite simple. Just one rice dish, to a few different buns options. Of course, the French toast in 2 variations, and then of course, we had to cut some items out along the way. Oh, yeah. Because we realized there are some items just so complicated and with too many steps.
Oh, what was one example?
Actually, that was one of our French toasts where people start to really like at the end of the market days. Oh, yeah. It was one of the French toasts with it's called soil mochi. It has a mochi inside, so quite chewy. A rice mochi filling.
No way. Oh, okay. That's cool.
And then we brush it with some soy sauce glaze, and then burn it a little bit, and then put a seaweed up on top, so it looks like the Japanese kind of rice cake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's
a lot of steps.
Yeah. And that was one of the classic example of my argument with Ryan, because I insist doing something that is really delicate and nice looking, but then end up it creates some problem of not delivering the whole set of meal in time because it takes so long to make.
That's true. You'd have to have like one person dedicated to just executing that, and then that's a lot of pressure on like one specific thing. So fair enough.
Yeah, and when French toast is the most popular item, you don't want to get stuck with just one of the flavors of the French toast and drain the whole production process. So yeah, these are very good learnings along the way that we wouldn't know before doing the pop-up.
No, of course not. The interiors, the design, the menu, the getting people, that was a period of 2 months. That's that's amazing. 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
While still doing our original trade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So there was hectic. Quite stressful in a way, like testing recipe, making sure everything tastes good. And,
of course.
And but we managed at the end.
I'd say you definitely managed. You guys. Well, when I first met you, we were there, and you had like I think 30 seconds to take a break, and it seemed as if like there is so much to do, and you achieve so much, but there is a toll that kind of comes with all of this. And I guess what was it like kind of day to day for you and the staff and Ryan as well, and just like managing this stuff? Because I didn't even realize you were commuting all the way from way out west. To come in every day and start up a kitchen is it's a lot. So if you're comfortable, I just want to know a little bit.
We do. First of all, for all restaurants, I think they, especially small brands, they all do a lot of things as they can. Like they would want to be managing most stuff and making sure everything is good when you're first starting. So I think I share with many entrepreneurs and new starters that we are doing everything and also overestimating our capability and energy. So it was also a learning. Like I think I could have allocate more other tasks to the team or the manager at that time, but then I'm quite kind of micromanagement person, which I learned I have to improve in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you walked out of it without learning anything, I'd be surprised. So So
the physical strain was crazy at the time. So our restaurant opened from 12 to 9 at the time.
Wow. Okay.
And no, actually 12 to 8:30. Okay. So,
but the queues started at least about 10:30, 11. I know.
On Saturday, yes.
Yeah.
So it is quite a long hour. But our menu is like an all-day menu, not just like breakfast. Maybe we were too ambitious doing an all-day, but actually doing a pop-up is like one step, like a testing step to see whether there is a potential for a permanent place. Yeah, of course. Well. Yeah. So the opening hour was quite crucial to understand what hours do the customer come in.
That's a very good point.
So I think the long hours and the commute really puts a toll on us.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and also I think one of the biggest learning and the challenge of the whole project is working with your partner.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, Emily won't mind me saying, there's always times where it's like you care about each other's opinion, but you're going to come up against differences, right? Or tensions, and that's just natural. Yeah.
And also only when you are working intensively with your partner, you understand how important or how much you take things for granted before.
Yeah, of course.
Because you thought you understand each other without speaking, but then when you were busy, you really realize how each other's are like. And when it involves work and practicality, you really need to communicate more than you do when you're at home and doing other things. But when you're busy, you just don't think from others' perspective as much.
Because your head's down, you want to get through the next hour, and that's what's most important. But taking a minute to say, no, we all have to check in. Is everyone okay?
Yeah.
It's important, but it's a thing learned, I guess, right? Like I forget to do that sometimes. It's just part of it.
You just assume they understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think we were working too much as well, especially towards the end.
That's fair.
So we were both really drained, and then the workload, we still need to open everything. There was one day I really thought, oh, I really want to take a break.
No, fair
Like,
enough.
I'm
Yeah.
starting to feel a bit sick on that day, and then okay, I need to. And then Ryan just say, we need to hang in.
Oh man, but at least they were supporting each other in that respect. Yeah, that's good.
Like, we're here together. It is. So yeah, there were arguments time when we do things differently, and I really experienced the classic scenario where front of house and
Back of
also
house.
back of house is always
At war, but
Yeah.
friendly war. We're on the same
Yeah.
team, but we're in a war. Yeah.
like arguing over resources, what
Yeah.
comes first. Like we just learned if we want to do it again or moving forward for Hoko, we just really need to understand each other and
That's fair.
and understand we're doing it for the good.
Yes.
For Hoko. Yeah, so I would say this is the biggest challenge in the whole project, and also I would say there are a lot of learnings from like operation kind of view and also people managing. Is such a big thing, which I never managed such a big team. So manpower is such a huge issue that I think a lot of F&B owners are having troubles with these days.
Yeah, it still seems to be an issue. Yeah, but I guess that's a semi aftermath of COVID, is people having to find other jobs because of the hospitality issues, and then suddenly hospitality bounces, quote unquote, bounces back, and then people have found other jobs. Yeah, exactly. It's part of it.
Yeah, and also food industry just requires a lot of energy and passion to stay in there. And
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
It's an endurance test some days.
Yeah.
You're like, oh
Also,
god.
quite like floristry. When I was working in
yeah.
floristry, it's very physically demanding.
Mm,
You really
I
need to
imagine.
be really passionate, and it's not a high-paid industry like many creatives and jobs. So it takes a lot of courage and passion to stay in food and beverage industry. But we were very lucky having a good young team sharing the passion of Hong Kong food culture that joined us, and some of them joined us from market originally.
Oh, no way.
So we really appreciate the help making it happen, and I think they do share some values and the characteristic of the Hong Kong brand.
Yeah, that's
young
cool.
And want to share about Hong Kong. So I think that glued our team together, and
I think it's quite nice if like everyone's coming at it because they really care about where it comes from. You can't buy that really. If you're a big restaurant, staff are there because they need a job, not because they're there because they really give a shit about why you've done this.
Yeah.
And that's so that's really nice to hear that they came from like that first iteration and they followed all the way up to this one. And that's cool. That's
And
cool.
also, I think they could have picked other F&B job, but I think maybe there was something in the team that we share similar knowledge about the culture and the food and speak the same language that people just naturally join the team.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
So but still, after all, there are days, there is tube strike.
Oh god, yeah.
First, like learning tube strike from a employer kind of point of view, like you still have to keep the place open. Like these sort of challenges where I never encountered from a employer kind of view. So it takes learning, and now having done that, I really appreciate like the previous employer being considerate and it's a really good learning after all how to be a good manager and also finding balance in the team and making sure there is a good vibe.
Being able to keep other people's energy up and make them feel supported is such a hard skill to learn. It takes experience and hardship of your own, but also like you said, your manager, you can appreciate what your managers have done for you. It does start with you seeing how a good manager can be and how they react to situations and saying, I'm going to do that one day. It just comes with it.
I think the trick is, after all, is keeping the team good. For restaurant, really, for the kitchen. I think that's the most difficulty, like keeping team and also working with your partner and in a long hour real encounter of how a restaurant should run. From amateur us to run a restaurant. I always tell Ryan my like uncertainty and inconfidence sometimes. I say, I'm really really scared. Like it feels like we're coming from kindergarten and then suddenly to university. Yeah, I always describe that in that way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, at least you could, it's good that you could both feel like you could voice that instead of bottling it.
Yeah.
And yeah, because you need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess just wondering about like the reception you guys got, the queues around the door. It felt like you guys were non-stop, start to finish. And can you tell me a little bit about like the audience, who they were? Because it seems like you definitely attracted people from Hong Kong who kind of moved over, who were looking for that piece of home.
Yeah.
But then it felt like it expanded and there were lots of people who just wanted to experience what you guys were doing and like try something new for them. Is that correct? Is that okay, cool.
So at the first 2-3 weeks, I think we see over 50% of Asian, and a lot of them. I don't know. To you, do you feel the same when you see an Asian face? You can just kind of tell where they're coming from without them even speaking.
Yeah.
So we know there are a lot of Hong Kong people at the beginning.
The knowledge.
From the way they dress and what food they pick.
Yeah.
You just know them so well. And then, it started from over 50% Asian and mostly Hong Kongers.
Oh, cool.
But then I think some of the blogger did help us. There was one blogger we know from the market, and then I think she posted something on TikTok, and then it just really helped to spread the word.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I never imagined it, actually.
Yeah. I saw
like
my Instagram feed kept popping up with, you got to try this cafe in Brick Lane. And I was like, I know that place. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going there.
I didn't spend time on social media at that time. I was
you're too busy.
the one doing the posting, and then I just couldn't have any time posting anything. And I was feeling so stressed. Should I post something? Yeah. Now I understand why people just repost them. It's just too busy. But after some TikTok viral stories, it just feels like they're kind of quite balanced, like 50% Asian and then 50% a mix of different audience.
That's great.
And getting to have more and more locals and people who work around Shoreditch coming for lunch.
Oh, cool.
Getting their lunch meals, takeaway. Because when we decided to do the pop-up, one of the things we really want to test is whether the mass audience will buy that.
That's fair.
Because we don't, ultimately, we want to get this Hong Kong story and experience out to local people rather than just people who miss home.
Exactly, because because that's a finite kind of group of people, whereas being able to expand and invite other people in is the big picture goal, right?
Our ultimate goal, because we want to make sure what we produce is not only favorable for people who already know about Hong Kong culture. So I think we were really happy to see the change of audience profile and people from different age as well.
Cool.
So it was nice. There was a mix of audience at the end.
That's good. From that, did you have any conversations with people like who I bet you did, maybe you were non-stop talking, who just wanted to talk about Hoko and what you guys were doing? And I guess did you get those moments to have, I guess, what you liked about markets, which is one-on-one conversations?
At the beginning, I really struggled to even go ask about how the food goes.
Oh, really?
Sort of
Yeah,
things. But at the end, I think our team did build a synergy, and then we know how each other's work, and the team started to really work together.
Oh, great! It felt like you were setting out to learn as much as possible. It felt like you were doing all these little experiments and tests. I guess. Yeah.
And having perception from local people was really helpful, whether they find things good for their appetite, and what would they love to see more. These are all very good information. And also, before doing that, I was always worried whether Hong Kong milk tea is too strong for local people.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone's as tough as Hong Kong people to try drink that milk tea.
But I was really surprised people order milk tea even at dinner time, because I couldn't do it. Yeah,
because you'd be wide awake. I mean, wired all night.
Oh my God. I would have the weirdest dream after drinking milk tea after 3 p.m.
Just a cut-off period.
So good to see people do order them at night time.
That's nice. It's quite nice, not to force a full circle here, but the attitude that you had running Hoko as a pop-up and that kind of wanting to learn from people, wanting to learn from the locals and kind of experiment and improve. is quite a nice kind of relate back to, you know, the original Cha Chaan Teng attitude, which was to absorb what was around them, react to it, and build the environment for it.
Yeah.
Constantly learning, constantly tweaking.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that was that conscious? Yeah. Was that something that you knew, that you were like actively trying to replicate, like mentality wise?
Like keep them in mind.
Yeah, because I guess you considered so much. I wouldn't be surprised if you were like, yeah, we kind of had that mentality.
We do realize the local Western audience really enjoy having buns and burgers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's such a thing that they just know, they just understand.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, so and having those buns easily for takeaway really work in the Brooklyn store.
Oh yeah. No.
So we do observe that along the way.
I gotta ask, because I know you must have just finished, then you've gone on break to Hong Kong and you feel relaxed. Would you want to do a permanent space? Would you want to do like set up permanently? What are you thinking?
Yeah, we do want to, because we feel having a space, like having those design elements, like the tablewares, the atmosphere, the lighting, really is. And also what we really want to do is having a memory location where people can just, even you've moved out of London, when you want to have a gathering with friends that share the same memories from Hong Kong, we want there to be a space where you can come back and just enjoy those comfort foods.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think I just heard London collectively clap that you're thinking of doing that you're thinking of making a permanent space. That'd be amazing.
We would want to. So we're actually quite open at this stage.
Fair enough.
We don't have really concrete plan. Really, we have to do this kind of thing.
Yes.
But we are exploring different opportunities, looking at different units, and then also testing different products these days. I think along the way, I do have some sort of struggle and like thinking whether we should invent more new dishes. Because at this stage, this is some kind of question I always have in mind, because in London, there is, and also in this world nowadays, there are so many new things and explosion of information, new recipes every day.
Oh God, yeah. I'd love to see a stat of how many recipes are uploaded to social media or recipe websites. It'd be hundreds of thousands of content every day, right? Yeah, it'd be wild.
So there is a constant battle in my mind whether to stay true and original or like giving twists. Because now I look back when I did the soil mochi French toast that I told you, it's delicious. But then after all, I think people will order most is the classic French toast.
That's true.
And I think it's at this stage when there are not a lot of, because we, at the end of the day, we really want to educate what Hong Kong is about, and also we want to share the authentic kind of Cha Chaan Teng experience and food to our audience. And I think at the beginning we want to stay as classic as possible and true to the original recipe, and then maybe when people are more familiar with the classics, and then we can do more adventurous stuff in adding new ingredients. We just don't want to mess too much.
Fair enough. Why impact what's really, really good and what's true for the sake of just doing it? Where if you're going to do it, it's got to be based off of a real need or a real drive that feels natural. Yeah.
That's the sentence I want to say, because there is some time that I feel the pressure, and maybe other food and beverage like chefs also encounter, is you feel, or creatives, you feel your pressure to create new content.
Yes.
And you just need to be constantly innovative, but maybe at some time you just need to do the original really good.
Yeah. I actually had a conversation about this like a few days ago with someone. We were talking about like the idea of cannibalizing your creativity just for the sake of, posting it and creating it. And then we started talking about like, but it doesn't give me anything at the end of the day. I feel like I only get one shot at doing something I want to do properly. So why am I rushing? What am I doing this for? What's this pressure coming from? So yeah, I think it's a shared experience to at least stop and say, no, I don't want to do that. and feel confident in that decision. And so I support that. Yeah.
And also, I think it will come naturally when I really want to try things and try a different recipe. It should come naturally. That follow my palate and what I think. Okay, what would this traditional Hong Kong item go with, given the London ingredients?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think I'm still waiting for that time to come. But at the moment, we really want to do the classic dishes really good and authentic, and elevate it in a good way. So we're at the stage of product development, looking at different opportunities in London.
Oh, cool.
And trying to gather information from the Hong Kong trip, catching up with the food industry right now in Hong Kong, and digesting how we feel about going back to those classic local eatery place, and trying to translate it in a different way.
I love that. Okay, I mean it's an exciting time. It's like the build up, the experimenting point.
I keep reminding myself the pop up was successful because I enjoy the process.
Yes.
I enjoy bouncing off idea with Phoebe, with Ryan, and it should come naturally. Like I shouldn't force, okay, we need to relaunch, we need to have something very exciting. But instead I should be naturally excited by naturally exploring what excites me.
Yes, I think that's great. The healthiest approach, I feel, is stop and take stock. And when it feels right, it will be right. Because you've got enough, but there's enough people who back what you're doing because they care about what you're doing, that if it takes a minute to get to that point, no one's going away. And there's something really scary about the idea of your audience leaving, and they're not going to, because they care about what you do. And it's a hard thing to remember, but
there are quite a lot of voices saying, oh, you have done the pop-up, you should open as soon as possible. You know, those kind of peer pressure.
Oh god, it feels all tense.
But it's cute. Like many other things, you just need to stay true and follow what you think is right. And if you want to do something, everything will come natural. Exactly. This is my kind of motto.
Yeah. That's great.